Let's talk about, you mentioned John McCain, 2008 election. John's a great friend of yours for a long time. You were competitors, but you never went negative on him, and you campaigned so hard for him down the stretch. With the McCain-Palin ticket, what do you think are the lessons learned for why things turned out in such a rough way?
I think the McCain-Palin ticket is a hard one to analyze, because I think there's one overriding analysis that maybe makes all the ideological analysis not effective, and that is the economic crisis. I believe that with that depth of an economic crisis, there was almost no way that a Republican could win, no matter who the Republican was or how the Republican was situated. But that doesn't give you a lot of help toward the next election, because hopefully there won't be that kind of an issue in the next election, or an issue like that in the next election could swing things to the Republicans, even not based on ideology. But I think had that not happened, it still would have been a very close election. McCain might have lost, Obama might have won, but we still, even if McCain won, would have won it by a state again, because we didn't broaden our issues in our presentation to people. And the primary process kind of drove us back to being a party that appeared to be just trying to once again re-emphasize our base. And here we had a candidate, John McCain, who had a tremendous amount of appeal to the moderate bipartisan voter, tremendous amount of appeal to the independent voter. But because the party conducted its primary basically just trying to re-emphasize its base, and the Democrats conducted their primary on issues that reached out beyond their base, we lost the election.
But you said, I mean, there's a philosophical conflict between maximizing freedom on economics, individual responsibility, certainly taking the war on terror seriously, and the social issues. And there's a cognitive dissonance which is driving some folks away.
Right.
And I wonder if you'd talk a little bit about how we can resolve that and why it exists.
I think that part of the reaction to the loss in 2008, even in 2006, is a kind of a view that Republicans weren't conservative enough and didn't reinforce their base enough, and that by doing that we can win future elections. Well, the arithmetic isn't with us. I mean, the reality is our base is our base, and it's not getting bigger. In fact, if anything, it's getting smaller. So we shouldn't sacrifice those principles. If those are very strongly held principles, they should be strongly held. But they should not be the major organizing principles of the party. The major organizing principles of the party should be economic issues, military issues, issues of foreign policy. And after all, that determines how people vote more. So if our organizing principles are around being more fiscally sensible and responsible than Democrats, if our organizing principles are having a stronger military than the Democrats would like to have, if our organizing principle is to have a more aggressive, let's call it, foreign policy in dealing with terrorism, those are issues on which we can get a majority of the American people, if we don't drive them away with the social issues. And on the social issues, we can agree to have, as Ronald Reagan and Lee Atwater used to call it, a big tent. And every party has to do that. You just have to locate the organizing principles correctly. I mean, Obama did that. All Democrats that voted for Obama don't agree on social issues. All Democrats don't agree on a lot of issues, but they agreed that he was the right change. They probably had an essential agreement in their case on Iraq. They probably had a central agreement on a somewhat more activist government. So they sought their broadest organizing principles and left room for disagreement, whereas we were focusing on our narrowest organizing principles and didn't leave room for disagreement.